Hello, I'm John Emrich, and the purpose of this video is to show you a truly integrated electronic drum set. When I talk about integrated, I'm talking about a full DTX.900 drum kit and BFD2 running on the computer, routed through an O1V96i from Yamaha. This is a digital mixing board. Now, if you look at what I've got, it's not that big of a footprint, yet there's absolutely no job that I can't do with this setup. Now, why would we integrate? Okay, a couple of different reasons. One, if I'm doing a show, and I have yet to have this happen, but the computer was to crash for some reason and BFD2 wasn't firing, the DTX900 becomes my redundant sound source. And vice versa. That's one example. A second example, maybe I want to take some of the non-organic drum sounds, some of the electronic kind of sounds that are in the DTX900 and add that to BFD2. I can then layer the two together. So there's a lot of different possibilities you can have going on here. So what I'm going to do real quickly is show you how I have it set up. Drummers should pay attention to this O1V96i. This is a remarkable product. There's a lot of professional drummers that tour with it because of a few different reasons. One, it's relatively small, so it's very easy to have it sitting next to your drum set, and you can control every aspect of your sound. The reason they're choosing the O1V96i, in addition to the size of it, these are available just about any place on the planet through rentals or backlines or just friends. And the cool part about this is there's a software application which basically a graphic user interface comes up which mimics this board completely. I can save all of my settings. So if I travel to another part of the globe to do a clinic or to do whatever, I can spec for an O1V96i and put my files back into it once I get there. And this board, the way I have it set up right here in my place, is exactly the same as what I'll have when I get to my location. Another really great aspect about this board is the top of the board. You'll notice 12 mic pre's plus 4 more, which are considered stereo channels, but in a sense they all have their own gain knobs, so they are independent channels. These are all the inputs. The mic pre's are very nice in this board. Now, any input can be routed to any channel. Now, the way the channels are set up, there's 4 basically layers to the board. So I have my O1V set up so that 1 through 16, which is layer 1 through 16, each one of these inputs goes directly to the channel that it's assigned to. Then the outputs, the direct outputs for each of these channels goes 1 through 16 direct out into the computer. We have 16 channel bidirectional audio capability at 96 kilohertz, which is fantastic. So this is my first layer. So you can see right here I have the DTX900 coming into these channels here. Now what I do then on the second layer, which is 17 through 32, these are set up to be returned 1 through 16 via the USB connection from the computer. So in a sense, I now have 16 channels via the preamps and the input selection. I have another 16 channels coming from the BFD2 system for a total of 32 channels. Then you have a master layer and a remote layer. Now what I've set up is there's basically 8 auxiliaries. You can have 4 effects processors. So I take auxiliary 1, 2, 3, and 4 and set those up for effects processing. The effects processors then are controllable right here in this little section. So all you have to do is basically you're on 1 or 2 or you're on 3 and 4 and you just turn them on and off. This is a really good feature for drummers to understand because a lot of times when you're playing an actual live job, you don't necessarily have to change drum kits here or in the computer. It's great to have 500 electronic bass drums, but do you really need them when you're playing at a Holiday Inn somewhere? I don't think so. But what does come up a lot is being able to just alter the sound of your drum kit. And again, this is all about us drummers taking control of our sound. A lot of times the sounds companies, or there is no company. If you're working with a band, a lot of times, like I said to Holiday Inn earlier, there's probably not a whole lot of inputs left over for the drummer. You can do all of your tone shaping right here in this small footprint and just hand the guy a couple of stereo feeds and say, here you go. Try not to screw it up. That's great because now it's all back on our shoulders where it should be. So back to this effects processing now. I've got the kit going. I just want to have a subtle reverb added in. So my first effects slot just adds a subtle reverb. Now I can just turn it off. My second slot, I like to have a more aggressive reverb sound. Now the cool part about the effects package that ships with the O1V96i is there's a lot of effects. In addition to a whole bunch of different kind of reverbs based on very popular reverbs from Yamaha. You also have things like modeled compressors, guitar amps, rotary cabinets, a lot of really cool, useful effects. For instance, I often use the guitar amp thing. A lot of tunes you hear on the radio will have that effect going on. Another one that I'm really fond of is the rotary cabinet, so like a Leslie speaker where the horn's actually spinning. Comes up with some really interesting effects going on. So again, while I'm playing a job, I can just reach down and engage different effects at a touch of a button. Great way to do a live gig. And again, it's a digital board, so once I have this thing set up, all I have to do is save the scene, and it's always the same when I turn it back on. I can recall different scenes depending on what different venues I'm in. So this becomes a really good way to speed up sound checks and expedite getting to the job and then playing the job with a really high professional sound. So we mentioned that all these effects are being used on this first set of layers, this first layer of 1 through 16. I'm going to turn the DTX kit off, go to the second layer, which is my BFD. Now those effects are still usable on this layer also. So the aggressive hall sound. And go on to the amplifier sound, the guitar amp. And the rotary effect. So considering the amount of effects that you have to choose from as your starting points, you can really just kind of come up with your own effects packages. Now, in addition to the effects, each input, all 32 of them, have their own EQ and their own compression, which is really useful for getting tones finalized and nice and fat and punchy, especially if you're doing a live job. So I've already got this board set up and I've saved my preset. So this is basically every time I turn the board on, it's always the same way. It's ready to go. Now, on the back of the board, there's what's considered omni outs. There's 4 of them. So in addition to the main outputs, you have 4 omni outs. So for those of you in like a church situation or another situation where you might find the sound man wanting even more control, personally I prefer to give them 2 channels and that's it. But if you lose the argument and you have to give them multiple channels, you can do that from the omnidirectional outputs. All you do is set up the routing for it. Now, I mentioned here you have 8 auxiliary sends. you can create basically a routing system to where you've got the 32 channels. You can send specific input out to any of those different outputs at any given time. So I'm not going to go into it because literally you can come up with any creative way that you want to do it, and it'll take care of it. If you need more than 4 omnidirectional outputs, they have these little cards that flip into the back of the O1V96i with a whole bunch of different routing options. In fact, there's already a built-in ADAT, which is, some people call it light pipe, it's ADAT output on it, which gives you 8 digital outputs. So you've got a lot of capability depending on the gig and what you're interfacing with for the front of house. You can get there from here real easily. So the next thing to bring up is the recordings aspect of this. I've already shown how you can bring in all the different effects and the different tone shaping like EQ and compression. Oh, and by the way, if you're on a live job and you have a board like this, all of a sudden you can be the sound guy controlling the sound for the entire group, which means you can charge a little bit more money for that job. Sorry, I digressed a little bit, but something to consider. The more you can do, the more gainfully employable you are. So that's where we get with the recording. Now we're gainfully employable as recording. I now still have all the capability of the 16 layers of audio that are coming into the board. So I've got the different groups of audio coming out of the 900 into the O1V96i. That's going 16 channels into the computer. I'm also, via USB, connected into the computer directly, so I now have BFD2 loaded up also. So one of the cool things about a software like Cubase, which you can get a Cubase AI6, I believe, is a free demo version of the software, so you can try this all on your own. It makes recording very simple. So now you're no longer limited to who you know, where you can go record in a studio or at a friend's house. You can do all this stuff anywhere because you're using a high quality of a program like BFD2, which we've already done all the decision making and spent all the money on the production. You get to just play the sounds, makes it easy. You can do this with anybody, anywhere on the planet. In fact, a lot of people are starting to mess around on YouTube and collaborate, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. So with Cubase, you can import audio files, very easy. You can also import video files. So I've got a friend up in Massachusetts. His name is Mario DeCutis. Many of you may know him as the alternate mode. He's the one with the mallet cat. He's a fantastic mallet player. He and I just did an electronic percussion workshop at the University of Delaware, and I was teaching electronic drums and teaching recording, so I asked him to put together a video in his studio up in Massachusetts. So he recorded himself doing a looper-based video and then sent me the video. I'll upload that into Cubase, I'll add a MIDI track for BFD2, and then I'll play. To set this up even have a little bit more fun is, in addition to the camera you're watching me on, we have an overhead camera. I really like these Zoom Q3 HDs. They're inexpensive, and for doing like YouTube kind of things, it's really quite simple. So all you really need to do is get the camera placed. Go ahead and put this up here. I think that'll look sort of decent right there. So you get the camera placed where you want it. You get your session loaded up. You bring in your audio files. There's all sorts of techniques for determining tempo and all that. You can do a simple YouTube search and figure all that out. I'll start showing some of that in future videos. But now the same system is set up to do a really nice recording and be capable of going out to YouTube because we now have added this Zoom camera. So what you're going to see is I'm going to start the session, and you're going to hear 2 clicks from the snare drum, 2 hits. Now the reason I'll do that real quick is I can always go back in and delete those 2 strikes. But what happens is both of these cameras have microphones, so they'll see this kind of a spike in the audio channel. It almost looks like that. It's basically the sound of the snare drum. And I'll have this sound, I'll have those 2 spikes on the audio track once I get done mixing the session in Cubase. So all you have to do is, in whatever video editing software you choose to use, which there's a lot of them out there, you put the camera videos in your slots, in lanes. So I'll have the main camera in the top lane, the main video lane. I'll have this overhead camera in a second lane. I'll see the two spikes from the snare drums because the microphone heard this. And all I do is I drag them and line them up to where they're sitting on top of each other, and then they play fine from there on out. Do the same thing with the audio channel. It's lined up, it's good to go. Makes putting together a video for YouTube very simple. You see a lot of guys taking a kit like this, which has extremely nice sounds, or a B-52 type system, and they start trying to integrate through the headphone inputs and the speaker outputs directly out of the computers. It never really sounds great. This is a way to really up the quality of what you're doing. And this O1V96i, it's got the mic pre's on it, so we will get into a video at a later date showing the same concept but with an acoustic drum set, and then another one where we combine the acoustic elements plus the electronics. So for now, we're going to go ahead and record this loop-based duet with my friend Mario DeCutis, and I'd like to thank you for watching.